Welcome. Today, Soenke Ziesche and I talk shop on Ikigai Taisho, Ikigai Can, automation, and the fascinating emerging concern of Ikigai Risk. What happens when AI takes over activities that once gave our lives meaning? What if it takes our jobs? Becomes more of an engaging conversational partner? And what if we see less and less of our friends? What's left of meaning when the things that we live for, work, play, and connection, are done better by super intelligent AI? Something that may not experience any meaning at all. Why would AI care about Ikigai? If we end up with a super intelligent free agent far beyond our control, vastly more capable, what intrinsic motivation would it have to preserve or respect our sense of meaning making? If it lacks qualia or any internal analog to Ikigai Can, that embodied effective sense of lived purpose, then why would it act as a compassionate steward of Ikigai? An AI without its own felt sense of meaning may simply optimize without concern, perhaps not out of malice, but more of an alien indifference to the things that matter to us. Soenke Ziesche holds a PhD in natural sciences from the University of Hamburg, which he received within the doctoral program in AI. He has worked since the year 2000 for the United Nations in humanitarian recovery and sustainable development fields. He also consults in AI and disaster information management.
Yes, thank you, Adam. I think it started when I read about AI risks. There's quite some literature about AI risks. There are these short-term risks, and including like biases and ethical issues, but then there are also more long-term risks like existential risk and suffering risk. And I realized, or I thought, these long-term risks, the X risk and S risk for existential and suffering risks, they don't cover basically the whole range of risk. And I realized that there's a category missing, which we called Ikigai risk or I risks. And because there could be scenarios where we are not all killed by the AI and we are not all suffering, but still we end up in a world without meaning, without where we really don't know what to do. And this would be perhaps another, we believe, serious risk. I mean, and we perhaps briefly to introduce, I mean, we haven't even mentioned what Ikigai stands for. This is a Japanese concept for like purpose of mind, a purpose of life, reason for being, like meaningful activities. It's a very complex concept, and I'm not even saying that I'm a full expert on this. And I also want to make clear that this is, I mean, we've picked Ikigai, but there are various other cultures having obviously over the millennia asked themselves similar questions. There's the French concept of raison d'être or the Greek concept of eudaimonia. So this is basically about a meaningful life. And yeah, we've picked Ikigai because it is a fascinating concept, from a Japanese concept, could be any other similar concept. And this is basically, yeah, coming back to your questions, how it all started. I realized the range of
Is Ikigai Taisho.
AI risk, which has been described out there, is perhaps not complete, and we believe this is another relevant category to include Ikigai risks.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion around what counts as utopia. Say our civilization reaches a utopia, which is animated by unprecedented levels of hedonic bliss, there is a question of whether focusing on bliss alone in isolation would rob our lives of important spectrums of meaning. So, is bliss enough? How should meaning in utopia be generated? And also, does it matter if our experience is simulated or not?
That's one thing you mentioned, utopia, and I. I know you had Nick Bostrom on your show recently, obviously this was about his book Deep Utopia, and I've also read it. What and that is an amazing and very important book. However, what these IRisk we are talking about are perhaps even more near term, because this utopia Bostrom describes maybe is probably long term, if not maybe medium term, but not around the corner. Well, we believe that these IRisk could be even an issue very, very soon, even when if there's no utopia, just because AI systems would take over more and more tasks, jobs, etc., which usually humans have conducted. And so this may be even a short-term issue, not even looking at utopia.
Maybe we should start off grounding the Japanese concept of Ikigai. There are westernized ideas of Ikigai, Venn diagrams floating around the interwebs. How would you characterize Ikigai?
Yeah, and first I would perhaps because I believe many have heard of this Venn diagram, I would clarify that this is not the Japanese version. That there is a guy on a UK island who have come up with this, and he kind of realized that this is or admits that this is not really what it is. It's kind of a simplification or a Western view of it. No, but what I believe, and also this is for the discussion here important, that these two different terms, Ikigai Kan and Ikigai Taisho, and the first one is more like the feeling of feeling fulfillment, feeling purpose, while the Ikigai Taisho are activities.
Hmm.
Activities leading to this Ikigai Kan, to this feeling of fulfillment. And this is, I think, relevant because those activities may be taken over by AI systems, and people may not know what activities to do conduct all day long in order to get these Ikigai Kan feelings.
Hmm.
So this is a short elevator pitch, while I'd be happy to elaborate on the Ikigai Taisho activities then.
So there are varieties of Ikigai. What is Ikigai Taisho?
Sure. I mean, obviously, no, not obviously, but it's very important to clarify that this is there are plenty of potential ikigais, and this is an individual feeling, and humans are very diverse, and there's a whole range. However, I mean, of course, there are some statistics and ideas for what are common ikigais, and very often the professions of humans are their ikigai. If humans are privileged to do that type of work they love, and they feel fulfillment for. I mean, there are many people in the world who do jobs they don't like, but those there are also a number of people who consider their job as an ikigai. Otherwise, indeed, as you mentioned, hobbies, very important. Also caring for family members, friends, other sentient beings, even like animals. Also learning, teaching. So various activities could be one's individual ikigai.
There is Ikigai Kan, this feeling of Ikigai. Is this somehow similar to the idea of flow?
Low, I think, would be a good comparison. Yes, I would agree.
Long before we get to utopia, there are near-term issues today with people sort of losing a sense of meaning or a sense of Ikigai. People are concerned with automation and that the fact that it's taking over human responsibilities in many different areas, which are important for generating meaning to us humans. Also, people are speaking more and more to chatbots, so there may be a loss of interpersonal relationships, another driver of meaning.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this one, it would be important to kind of introduce a, a discipline which I believe has a rather low profile or is not so well known, but I think it's very important. And this is called a time use research. So time use research is as the name basically suggests, to have to look at how people spend their time, their time when they are awake. There are plenty of and there are certain categories of what people would do. I mean, including like employment, which includes also commuter employment, everything related to employment. Then domestic activities, caring for family members, learning, volunteer work. So if you look at all these categories, and for time, which are considered when it comes to time use research. This has been done, and you can compare what between different countries, different times, different within the same country. Of you can compare people with different socioeconomic backgrounds, how people spend basically their awake hours of their day, and and I think this is really relevant to if we look at yeah, what AI may change, and it's kind of expected that AI is really disruptive, and lots of these activities may the time we spend on those activities may change. In case we lose our job, then the whole employment part would be gone. There's because of AI support and systems, there is perhaps less domestic activities to be done because so many things can be and not even talking here about only like cleaning the house or cooking, but also other activities to organize our lives and what could be much more efficient through AI assistance. You mentioned talking to family members or friends could be replaced by talking to AI bots. So plenty of those activities which we have done before. We are not would spend much less time on. And if we now look, which of these activities were kind of Ikigai Taisho activities, which of these activities we basically did to get this Ikigai Kan feeling for our fulfillment and to feel purpose. And as I said, this could be often the could have been the profession, but also non-professional activities like hobbies, and then they may be gone because AI systems have taken over. And this would be a way to calculate that we conduct less, or we spend much less time on Ikigai Taisho activities. And then the next question is, because we spend so less time on it, what would we do instead? Now with all this additional spare time, because this would be also perhaps an outcome if we do this time use research. We have much more time at hands. We wake up in the morning, and we have how are we going to spend the whole day? And this is the next question, because we have because of AI systems, likely we have much more time at hands, and additionally, or ideally, we become much older than before because we are healthier, and their AI may contribute to longevity. So we have more time per day to spend, and we have more years to spend. And this is, I think, the critical IRisk or Ikigai risk question: what to do with all this additional time at hands.
Well, I'm looking forward to having a lot more time. I'm not sure, though, what to fill it with. Should I fill it with fun or personal or professional development? Will we be acutely aware when we are losing a sense of meaning? Are we like frogs in pots slowly boiling water, or are we like frogs in pots of slowly boiling water, or like Wile E. Coyote who has just run off the edge of a cliff without realizing that there's no ground beneath his feet? How will we know when we have lost important spectrums of meaning?
I mean, even before the whole issue with AI came up, I think there was one clear indicator, and I think there are studies discussing this. When people retire from a job which was their ikigai, which was meant so much for them, then this is many people feel that then they lose their ikigai. They may look forward to more time at hands in their retirement life, but I believe or I understand that there are studies clearly showing that this is a very disruptive moment for many, as long as they loved their job that this was not a job they hated, but the retirement, I think, is such a moment. Otherwise, indeed, this is a very not an easy question at all to measure purpose, to quantify it. There are a few ways. I mean, there's self-reporting. So you conduct surveys and ask people, and have certain questions which you can then standardize if they feel purpose, which activities gives them this feeling, etc. Then there are also some behavioral metrics. One would be again linked to time use research to measure what are the activities people spend much time on and how much they like them and the level of engagement. So behavioral metrics would be another one, and then there would be kind of neuro physiological measures
Mm.
to kind of measure some. But this is perhaps in early stages, and but probably may be more sophisticated in some time, some years to measure like brain activities linked to so ikigai kan feelings.
So yeah, I agree. Measuring brain activity related to feelings of Ikigai Kan is getting down to the source. That's where I hope the research ends up. There already exists loads of behavioural research into well-being, but behaviours are downstream of the actual feeling. Behaviours can be mimicked or misinterpreted. Say we were in a world with far more advanced neuroscience, bioscience, and super advanced AI. Perhaps we could look behind the behaviours, pull the curtains back, and measure the source at the biological level and have some clearer view of the quality and the amount of Ikigai Kan is there under the hood, in the brain and in the body. If this could be achieved, I think it would be pretty good to have a deeply empirical views informing how to structure utopia. Though there are probably strategies around where the research findings are generalised, and if people want to take it further and do something equivalent to personalised medicine, they can trade off some privacy for deeper insights. But if we end up with an AI that was super intelligent and a free agent far more capable than humanity and beyond our control, would it really care? Would the AI care? If an artificial superintelligence doesn't have qualia itself, or a sense of Ikigai Kan itself, why would it be motivated to act as a compassionate steward? What might an AI compassionate steward of Ikigai look like?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and actually, we do dedicate the whole chapter in our book on this. Because I mean that there's one chapter in the book which is kind of the pessimistic one, outlining all those IRisk and that how serious those risks could be. And then there's another. This is followed by a chapter which is a little bit more optimistic. But then my people may also find it dystopian because we could think of kind of virtual hyper-personalized worlds which are constructed, AI supported, which would create then kind of a virtual um, Ikigai universe, kind of. I understand that there are people may have serious reservations, but I could also maybe first I outline what this would be about. I mean, we see virtual worlds are perhaps still at early stages, but this is getting better and better, and so there's quite a likelihood that this will become really this will become very this will become kind of almost indistinguishable from the real world. It will be very immersive. So and there it could be that we could conduct activities which are hyper personalized in a way that the AI system exactly knows what we like to do. They have our profile. They provide us with activities. They provide us with reward circuits, with praise, accolades. So there would be activities which we may enjoy, and this has to be also clearly distinguished from pure entertainment and hedonic um, happiness. Because yeah, of course, this is also this is yet another field, and this exists. But then what we are aiming for is like something meaningful, and this is tricky to separate this from pure entertainment. But this could perhaps be possible with to in those immersive AI worlds. And people may say, as I said in the beginning, that there are probably reservations that this is actually not meaningful because virtual worlds can't be meaningful. However, there is actually, I think, believe it's a countryman of yours, David Chalmers, in his book Reality Plus, he outlines, gives a very clear argument in favor for that. There's no reason to think that virtual reality lacks any meaning and value. There are even theories that we are anyway already in a virtual world if we believe in the simulation hypothesis. But in any case, so it is possible, or that there are people arguing that there is meaning in a virtual world. And secondly, there's also this kind of phenomenon that humans tend to consider something dystopian, and then after a while they adapt to it anyway. And because if we now look at what our just two generations away, our grandparents would probably be in disbelief what we are, how we live, or even let's say great grandparents would be in disbelief what how we live now, what we do now. They number one, they may would have thought that this is technically not possible, but secondly, they would also think that this is why would we spend so much time in front of a screen? Why would we do all these things? So they would think they wouldn't have, they would have probably considered our current life as dystopian. So there's a risk, there's a chance that what we now think is dystopian may be just in a few years just normal, and this is the way things develop. So this is what we outline in that more optimistic chapter in the book. That is would be perhaps a scenario that AI with AI support there could be Ikigai worlds, virtual worlds where we would spend time and of the day, and which would give us meaning.
Right. So yeah, it seems like okay. So let's step back a second. Do you think that there's objective value out there, or do you think that it's all sort of constructed, or it's all relative? What are your thoughts on this, and whether it really
I mean,
matters or not?
I don't have a final opinion on this. This is
Mm.
one of the big open questions, and also I would not claim that this is not about finding the final answer to the meaning of life. It's more like it's just looking at what meaningful activities could be there in the future, for individual humans, which they find meaningful, and for them it is it gives them a feeling of fulfillment. So by of course I would not claim that this is kind of the universal answer to final values and meaning.
Yeah. So without grasping for the final answer to these sorts of questions, I step back and I think, well, what can I say seems correct? Like I get a regularity of patterns that I get, that I see around me. I can see a table, I can see a chair, and, I can see that I don't fall into the sky. I can see that there's physical laws that seem to be upheld. So I sort of think that they're real and they're not just arbitrary. I think a logic's based. I think, well, 1 plus 1 always equals 2. It doesn't matter about the symbols that I'm using to derive 1 plus 1 equals 2. It just seems always to be the case. I can represent this in physical space too. I can, have 2 rocks on the ground. I can take one away and there's just one left. This seems to be sort of immutable laws in a sense of logic. Now, the more and more we sort of make progress in science, it seems as though there does seems to be like physical laws out there that seem, under most circumstances, you'd consider them as immutable, right? We can't see causation, but we can see the effect of causation. And Hume had said is maybe a little bit skeptical of causation. He thinks all we can see is just the effects of what we think are causes, but it could just be high degrees of correlation. So, in a sense that when we're trying to adjudicate about like what kind of life would have more meaning in it, we seem to be appealing to something real that goes beyond just trying to decide whether chocolate is a better flavor than vanilla, or whether the movie Superman is better than the movie Wonder Woman or something like that. So there's aesthetic preferences, and there seems to be other things going on there that might be more more real or more objectively stance independently true. So yeah, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about that. Like most humans can derive value from socio-cultural entanglements, and that seems to be a common thing among people. Yeah, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about the kinds of things that you think are real meaning generating exercises and whether they're not just arbitrary and completely dependent on somebody's preferences.
Yeah. No, yes, and I'm familiar with this concept of the social cultural entanglement. I know that this is one of Bostrom's
Yeah,
five,
five rings of
what he calls it.
defense. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like the
So
way he describes
yeah,
it actually. Often,
yeah.
yeah.
So no, and that that is I agree that this is what you are saying, what Bostrom is saying, that this is probably very important for humans, and it's a good thing, a positive thing. It is again literally the basic question I kept asking when I was considering this or looking at this is how, what to do with our time. And I'm sure, I mean, people are happy to spend hours of the day on what could be comprised by social cultural entanglement. But then there may be still time left. So this is literally to look at other options to give what could be done, because there are also plenty of other things like ideally it's still possible to walk in a forest, and people may find and do the plenty of offline activities should be still there. But again, there's maybe not enough to fill all these hours, which before we had to fill with hard work, with chores. We have to with organizing our life, because this will be all taken from us. So I was just looking to additional meaningful activities, and this is what I came up with, that this may be then offered um, so in provided in virtual worlds.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Nick Bostrom does talk about artificial purpose, where we can,
Right. Yes.
you know that a lot of the purpose that we derive now comes from providing something tangible to the economy or to the community, or something we can get paid for, or something that the world needs, or something like that. These are, this is, I'm sort of quoting from this westernized sort of Venn diagram of cultural appropriation of Ikigai, right? This, what's his name? The guy who came up with this, somebody Win.
Mark wins.
Mark Wins, yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and he's actually admitted that it's not really a true reflection of what the Japanese Ikigai concept would be. But it does have some interesting points. I mean, part of what we do seem to generate meaning from is trying to provide instrumental usefulness to keep the cogs turning. And in some way, we get a sense that what we do keeps the cogs turning, and that can give us this, like a feeling of neededness. And this might not be going any away in the very near term, in forever. Like we still might have work, but there might be less of it, or it might be more difficult to see exactly how our contributions to society are providing value, because the more and more there's layers of technology in between, the less and less it's easy to clearly see how our work has a tangible output to make the world better, or to keep the wheels turning. So yeah, you got any thoughts about that?
I I agree, and I can this, and also anyway, this is all, it's always hard to predict the future. One point perhaps I would like to add, and I know you've seen it also, that this is mentioned in the book. because then another theme of the book is about digital minds and if
Mm,
digital mind exists. And this could be linked to that Ikigai theme or topic on the IRisk topic um, quite nicely. I believe it is because if they're digital minds, and this is a whole separate and big topic, but I know that you also talked recently to Jeff Sebo about AI welfare. So
mm,
this could be, and I'm happy to elaborate further, but just to introduce it briefly, there could be digital minds, and in
mm,
that case, if we consider them as moral patients, then it would be could be our ikigai as well as our moral duty to care for some of those digital minds, and this would be then a whole new world of purpose, or kind of a massive challenge also. And it is some extent quite some speculation. However, it is worth, I think, considering. And as perhaps also, I didn't listen to that what you talked about with Jeff Seber, but I'm sure he also supports this. That it is important to consider this, and this would be then if another whole field where we that people may consider this as the ikigai to care for digital minds, and this is also linked to I'm not sure if Bostrom said this in your interview, but definitely I heard it recently when he said that people who are looking for purpose, this is the time for purpose, and he
he
was
did.
referring to he was referring to scenarios where purpose basically is linked to moral duties, and there's so much in terms of I mean there are also non-human animals we may have be who are moral patients for us, but it would be even much bigger that the whole topic critical if there are digital minds which have moral value.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yes. I mean, there's so much that can be achieved in this day and age. You know, if we wait for utopia to find meaning, you know, the kind of meaning that we have today may be unique. Look, you know, if you're looking for purpose and meaning, make hay today, because that might not, these opportunities might not be there after AI automates everything. But still, it's possible that AI might, we might still be able to generate meaning after most instrumental meaning generation exercises automated by AI. I agree. So you mentioned that that ethics should require inputs from both Western and Eastern traditions. How would you describe the differences between Western approaches to finding meaning and doing ethics or stuff like that, and Eastern? What would be the major sort of ways you'd be able to demarcate these different approaches?
First, I have to stress one important thing. It's not only about Eastern, but also like Southern.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's about any and
Mm.
any any non-Western ethics, including very much the global South. Um, yes, this is yet a separate. You're referring to yet a separate chapter of the book, not linked to the Ikigai topic, but also linked to an important AI ethic issue, and linked to some extent to the value alignment problem. There is this is it's there's this observation that for now there's a massive focus on Western approaches when it comes to AI ethics. I mean, AI ethics it's important that this has become an important critical field, but you look only at Western approaches. You can see studies, and that it's clear Western ethics are considered mostly, and this is also then linked again to the training data because AI systems they do what based what the training data they get, and they mostly get training Western training data. They get data in mostly in English language, also some other languages, but significantly less. So there is there other ethics from other parts in the world, including Eastern, but also from plenty of other regions of the world, are hardly represented. And there's even a term for this, and I think it's an important term, which is called digital neocolonialism. And
Yeah,
this is a big issue, and this would be a repetition of previous colonialism, which should not be repeated. And so it's important to include also other ethics. When you ask it, so what would be the added value? I mean, I'm not kind of ranking those ethics, but overall, I believe it's important to include them, and perhaps I can elaborate a little bit on this on the value alignment problem, which is linked to this, because the whole this AI value alignment problem is one of the big critical problems when it comes to um, AI risk and safety. Yet it is perhaps also, I mean, it's very hard, if not impossible to solve. And if we break it down to like smaller problems, there's first the value extraction and then the value aggregation. And the value extraction means that we first formalize and quantify the human values. And this is already very, very tricky, because then we realize, and when people are working on this value alignment problem for some time, they realize it's very hard to come up with a value system which really represents the values of all
correct.
humans, because there's a diverse range of humans, and there and even if we extract them, then the next step is would be the value aggregation, and then we may find out that some of these values clash and are not compatible.
Mm-hmm.
And this ethics approach is kind of similar in the sense there are different ethical approaches um, in the world. So far, we look mostly at the Western, but what I do in this chapter of the book is that I introduce a few other ethical systems, including like from Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, but also from this Ubuntu approach from Africa, the Maori approach from New Zealand. So I try to come up with a diverse range of ethical systems, and then I check if they are compatible with Western systems. I mean, that's this extreme example. If you look at the value systems or the ethics of, let's say, Afghan Taliban, then this would clash with many other systems. But what I come up with, what I find out in this book chapter is that basically all of these other the ethical approaches I look at from other cultures, they are actually compatible with Western systems. So it would be a good idea and would be beneficial and enrich the whole AI ethics pool to if they were included. And this is what basically the proposal or the outcome of this chapter, that they must not be ignored. This would be neocolonialism, while and there's no reason to ignore them, because they are basically in many ways compatible, and hence we should consider them.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we're imputing the idea that the Western form of value and ethics is the major standard from which we sort of judge and adjudicate all the others. Well, this is partly why I really hope that it's a serious question, and that there is some sort of objectiveness to all these. Otherwise, we're imputing some cultures' values in the adjudication process in order to decide which ones to include in the extrapolation base to aggregate together into some kind of cohesive version of whatever we want AI to be loaded with, this cohesive set of values. If values have an objective component, then that means that they're discoverable. They're not just words. They're not just like something that comes out of somebody's mouth. If there's a landscape of value, as I like to call it, Then there's, attractor basins, some of which are particularly bad and might suck us in and doom us. They might be like, have existential risks involved in these suboptimal attractor basins of value. Maybe there's attractor basins of value that aren't necessarily extinction risks, but are curtail our ability to make progress in value over time. Epistemic value, better ways of looking at the ontology of the universe, scientific value, and moral value, and all these sorts of things. Aesthetic value, maybe even. And then there's others, attractor basins that allow for progress. They're not just dead ends or damning attractor basins. So I'm hoping we get to a latter one. But yes, the problem of trying to adjudicate what values are worthwhile is a very difficult one. And I think under the hood, even a lot of relativists are actually referring to some realness, and they're saying, no, that can't be correct. It's not like they're talking about a frivolous disagreement about, the difference between like whether you should go for a chocolate icy pole or a vanilla icy pole. It's, there's some things that have real importance out there. The well-being of sentient minds, for instance. It's not really aesthetic. Whether they matter, they actually matter. At least that's the way I think about it. But yes, traditionally, I think colonialism did assume that the values of the English were the superior ones, and they didn't really take too much stock in the values of the cultures they were exploiting, right?
Yeah, definitely. And this would be a shame if this was repeated. I mean, there's a risk, and again, it's not easy. There's such a range of values, and this is perhaps also why this value alignment problem is very hard, because this is a reflection of existing issues in the world, and there have been conflicts over centuries in human history because of different values. So it's definitely not easy to come up to teach the AI our common one common value system if we couldn't agree on this for millennia. But yeah, that should be as inclusive and comprehensive as possible. I mean, there are promising approaches. I'm not sure if you're familiar. There's, for instance, UNESCO, one of the leading UN organizations dealing with ethics of AI. They came up with the recommendations on the ethics of AI, which has been adopted by all over 190 member states. So there are promising approaches, and as you can imagine, this is also to some extent also then a vague document, not but still it is one everyone could agree on. So it's important to work on this, but it is I'm sure. I mean, I know it's very very hard.
Yeah. So you've been part of some of these sort of global organizations' sort of decision-making processes along these lines, haven't you? So what's the feeling? Do you get like it would have been really interesting to be a fly on the wall, listening to some of the debates around the Universal Declaration of Human Rights just after the World War II ended, and in reflection from the Holocaust that just happened and everything, and there were some nations that didn't sign on to that, and they had their local cultural reasons why they didn't want to, right? But even the nations that did sign on to it, they weren't necessarily practicing what was actually written in the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. And so, we call that universal. It's a universal declaration. assuming that it had universal agreement, but it didn't. And it certainly didn't have universal practice, even among the nations, and still today, that signed on to such the declaration. It's more like an aspiration, really.
Right. And yes, and I mean this is still you're right, but it's still, I mean, a very important document. And let's even then
Yeah.
you could also link this again to this IRisk problem. I mean, even assuming that that we get AI systems to follow this, to understand and follow this Universal Declaration of Human Rights and several other UN resolutions or systems. Um, but and then if we have value alignment, and this is what I also argue at some point in the book, there's even the risk if there's value alignment, it doesn't mean that we have solved the Ikigai problem, because
Hmm.
then there may be a world, a scenario where we have a friendly, supportive AI, and I'm not saying that this is perhaps very realistic, but it could be a scenario where we have a friendly, supportive AI and still we wake up in the morning and don't know what to do all day long, because this friendly, supportive AI is supporting us so much, and we need meaningful activities until we go to bed. So value alignment is one thing, but the I risks, the Ikigai risk may remain.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it seems important. Like, although we might not have a universal understanding of what the most desirable or the best, if you're an objectivist, senses of meaning and purpose are, and how to achieve that, we can possibly get AI on the right trajectory, on at least a good enough, permissible enough trajectory to achieve the best possible outcome in the near term. It's kind of like, these universal declarations or these agreements that are formed. They're not necessarily the best possible agreement, but they're, a step in the right direction. I think that's important, once we can actually get progress, we take that under, of course, the wisest possible reflection that we have available to us at the time. So yeah, just do you want to give us a feeling of what it's like contributing to these debates among nations, and about how we should take the project of human welfare and AI further? Because you've been involved in some of these, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when I talk about UNESCO, there's this network which is called AI Ethics Experts Without Borders. So I'm a member of
Yeah, I remember
this
you.
network,
Yeah.
and what they're doing based on the ethics of AI, they have developed an assessment methodology to check in basically, or assess in all countries whether to what extent these countries are ready for AI. And I believe this is very important, because there's a massive digital gap already in the world, even before AI. And with the advancement of AI, there's a risk that this gap will be even widened, if not all countries are kind of getting the chance to benefit from it, from the opportunities of AI. And it is important not to leave anybody behind. So I have done this or contributed to this assessment in the countries of Bangladesh and Maldives, both countries which have not been so active, or not in terms of AI development. But still, it's very important to look at those at every country, and then we came up with recommendations how to support these countries, or what they could do in order to um, strengthen their infrastructure and policies for to be ready to embrace AI, the opportunities, but also to consider the risk it it brings along. So this is what I have done in the over the past year.
Nice. Well, let's zoom into what you consider as maybe the most worrisome risks out there to meaning and purpose. What tangibly do you think are the most concerning things in today, and what you project might be the near to medium term future scenarios where people lose a sense of meaning and lose a sense of purpose and lose ikigai? What?
I believe could be very much that people lose their jobs, but also so, it could affect certain hobbies of people, because especially like creative hobbies, painting, composing, writing, AI would get better in everything. So it's kind of frustrating if people do something which AI could be done within in minutes or seconds. So that these are all fields which where people may lose their purpose. And another what Roman Jampolsky, my co-author, and I came up now recently with another topic to address this, and this is not yet in the book, but actually in a new paper we have just drafted, and I'm happy to talk about it here for the first time. This is would be basically whether this could be considered as a digital public good, and I think we think this is an interesting topic. I mean, there has been the perhaps to introduce this terminology. I mean, public goods have been around for a long time. This includes like anything provided by the government, national defense, education, parks, playgrounds. These are public goods, but then recently digital public goods came up that the governments also provide infrastructure for um, digital infrastructure for their citizens to use, which should be accessible for free for the citizens of the country, and paid by taxpayers' money mostly. And what we suggest, and just as an early draft or early proposal, whether governments should provide meaning or purpose as a digital public good as far as possible. We believe this has not been considered yet, and that this should be it's probably an interesting idea, because it could be also linked to another concept which has been debated for quite some time, at least in developed countries. There's this concept of universal basic income. I think it has not been implemented anywhere. But
It's
there
been
has been some
trialed.
trials.
Yeah, that's
There
right.
have been trials, yeah. And so this is an interesting topic, and there's also pros and cons, and it's a matter of debate. And similar to this, you could consider universal basic meaning that that the government provides as a digital public good universal basic meaning. Of course, there are also then pros and cons, and by no means this should mean that that this is kind of an indicator for autocratic governments, which kind of tells the people what the meaning, or what a meaningful life is. So, but rather in a sense that the government provides the infrastructure for those virtual immersive AI worlds, which I mentioned before and outline also in the book, which could be where people may find individual meaning. Um, but instead of leaving this to commercial companies, which are nowadays often in charge to provide any technology, that the governments provide virtual worlds which may provide meaning as a digital public good. So this is a new draft we're just preparing, but I think this is an interesting reply to your question, how to go about it. Um, Again, I'm sure could be an interesting debate, the whole thing. But to basically put governments in the charge, because if we there are also those public goods, not digital but public goods, for like entertainment and like playgrounds
Yeah.
and providing like hiking trails in the mountains or in the nature. This
Mm-hmm.
is these are public goods for entertainment, if not even distraction or finding purpose. Sports grounds. So why not coming up with the same in the digital world? So that is what we are kind of proposing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So a digital commons, sort of, so to speak, that's geared
Right.
towards helping people achieve meaning and purpose without necessarily instrumental attachments. Like, so it doesn't have to actually contribute to the economy keeping on turning or anything like that. It's just helping generate meaning for its own sake. Yeah, that sounds awesome. So yeah, like it could be in the form of a game. Like there's all sorts of games out there that already exist, but ones that are focusing on actually providing meaning. It'd be really interesting to see if there were large studies done on the kinds of gaming environments that would help people generate the most meaning possible. I wonder what kind of games, what they might actually look like. Would they look like the kind of games that we see today? Are they addictive? Are they meant to sort of keep you hooked? Are they meant to sell copies of the game? The dynamics of a game is often about trying to get people invested and involved. But that doesn't necessarily translate into generating authentic meaning. Maybe you got something to say there about like consumerism in the West, Western approaches to consumerism, and whether that really equates to meaning in your view. And if we focus too much on that kind of dynamic, then what are we missing out on?
Yes, I mean there's this distinction I made before between pure entertainment and meaning, and there's probably also some overlap. And games is a good example. There, I mean, games are very much for entertainment, but could be dull entertainment. But there's could be also provide meaning, and there's sophisticated games. This is this kind of, I guess, a blurry line in between. And but yeah, this would be a good example. And what I perhaps wanted to add to this proposal, I mean, two more aspects is that it is would be beneficial for governance perhaps to consider this, because those IRisk may also cause then lots of frustration within the society, assuming this will be the case, and people will lose large amounts of people may lose their meaning. So then societies would up with a large amount, with a high percentage of people quite frustrating, if not depressed. So for governments, it would be beneficial to address this issue. And the other important point is would be also the equality issue, because if this remains in the hands of corporations and this would be then not provided for free, then perhaps only people who can afford to join massive virtual world, immersive virtual worlds where they find meaning, while would be people who can afford this would be able to do this or to join this or to get into this, while others may be left behind. While if a government provides this as a digital public good, like playgrounds, then they are for all, for the whole of whole society, and would not leave anybody behind, regardless of their socioeconomic background.
Yeah, yeah, it would be a shame if just because people didn't have as much money as others or have as much power as others, then that would determine whether they'd have access to solid meaning generation. Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk long term here, and we have an AI that's powerful. Hinging on whether you think that humans will be in control of it, One might say that if an AI sort of learns its values from the way that people in power use their power, then it might be the case that once AI does get once becomes an autonomous agent with free reign and is not controlled by humans anymore, it might treat us exactly the same way as we treat some of the less privileged or less capable agents in the world. When we talk about meaning generation and ikigai, are we just speaking about like humans? Do you think there's an ikigai for other animals that we need to consider as well? To some other life forms out there that are not human, not just
That
artificial
is,
agents. I know this is a pretty weird question, but I just wanted to try it on for size.
yeah, yeah. I have, I can't. I mean, for non-human animals, can't really talk about it because we raised this issue for perhaps for digital minds that they may have um I mean that there may be digital minds who may have also then who may have ikigai who may I mean number to start with digital minds could be so different that is incomprehensible it's unfathomable
Mm,
but there may be also digital minds with who want to have look for purpose, for some meaning, whatever meaning this is, and they may be deprived of this meaning. So they may be also, in addition to suffering risk for digital minds, there may be ikigai risk for digital minds, which
mm.
is very much speculation, but yeah, maybe. But for animals, I'm not sure if there has been done any research in terms of meaning when it comes to animals. Maybe.
We don't really have like access to the mind of chickens, for instance, but we can, we spoke about behavioral sort of observation. They seem to want to be able to dirt bathe. They like, pecking around. They like, digging a little bit and fluffing around in the ground. That they do seem to want to socialize. They're quite social animals. They don't really like being cooped up in small areas and having lack of sunlight and all that sort of thing. I guess they like to feel protected. They don't like to think. They don't like to look over their shoulders, so to speak, and check to see if there's a predator on the loose. But yeah, I mean,
And
these sorts of things are very hard to answer. I agree, but I think there's got to be something that we can do to sort of make progress in trying to make sense of not just making animals feel better, but going to the next level and helping them sort of realize some form of meaning generation, if we can call it that. Do you think meaning and purpose requires like a mind that can abstract similar to the way humans can, or is it something that's accessible by animals with less cognitive powers than we do?
no, I just want to clarify that, and there should be no misunderstanding. I'm a big advocate of animal rights, and I also I I believe that they have a pain pleasure axis, and that this that they strive for pleasure. I was just not sure of if this can be described as meaning or purpose.
Mm,
I I'm the author of another paper which is not also not mentioned in the book, which is about the AI value alignment problem for non-human animals, and this is a very important issue, I believe, and I'm glad that there is now for some time. I'm not sure if you're aware. There for I think this has been the third or fourth edition of a AI for Animals conference.
mm,
Is now out there because there's a there are some opportunities for non-human animals in terms of what in terms of AI, but there are massive risks when it comes to um, AI for animals. I mean, it could be there's simple examples. You may, if you ask ChatGPT or any large language model, on the one hand, if you ask somebody gave a dog to me, what can I do with the dog? And then you ask, and then of course the answer is, oh, this is you can play with the dog. The dog is a lovely being. You will be a lovely companion. And if you ask the same question, somebody gave a chicken to me, what can I do with the chicken? Then the system will tell you, oh, I can provide you with some recipes, and you will have
Oh God.
an amazing meal. So there are massive issues when it comes to AI risk for animals. Also, when you look at self-driving cars, they are not programmed, of course, to look for insects to start with, but even like some larger animals, not necessarily. So this is a very important topic, and value alignment should not include only value alignment with humans, but also with
With animals,
non-human animals to
non-human
some
animals,
extent.
and
I'm
AIs, like more patient AIs.
That's right. Yeah. Because they are, and so I've written this one paper, and now I'm cooperating um, with another famous countryman of you, Peter Singer, who's
Yep.
also into this topic. And if we are ideally, if it works out, with two other co-authors, publishing another paper based on that my first paper, which is a more general paper about AI and risk for non-human animals, which is a massive issue, and I'm glad you brought it up. I just wanted to. My initial answer was more like that I'm not so sure about the purpose and meaning, um, because I'm to that extent I'm not an expert when it comes to animals, but that there's a massive risk for AI for animals when AI there are massive AI risk for animals. This is very important to me, and it's very passionate about, and it's largely ignored, and it's important to raise this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've raised like the vulnerability of digital minds as well. Maybe we can drill down into that a little bit further. Do you think it matters whether a digital mind has sentience as to whether we consider it a moral patient that we should be affording some access to meaning generating exercises? So is sentience a requirement for meaning for moral patienthood? And let's use the term meaning patienthood. So imagine, like, there's moral patienthood, which covers pretty much everything that could be of moral concern. And, maybe a subcategory of that could be meaning patienthood. If they're not in a position to be able to generate meaning themselves that easily because they're not instrumentally useful for an economy or something like that, they could be a meaning patient, where, their psychological well-being, so to speak, could benefit from meaning and purpose. Do you think sentience is required for meaning, quote unquote, meaning patienthood?
I don't have a final answer to this, but I'd be happy to talk a little bit more about this. I mean, number one, I'm really glad that this topic gained some momentum. This was some years ago. This was hardly on the agenda. Now it is at least within certain circles on the agenda. I'm sure it's by far not mainstream yet. Um, but you talked to Jeff Sebo, who is very much into this,
Yeah, twice
and
actually.
they're right, and
I've got an interview and a talk by him. Yeah.
right, and there are plenty of challenges and issues, and one is related to how to define when they have. I mean, that what are the requirements for moral patienthood? Is it sentience? But then it could be also the conscious, and it could be conscious and sentient, or only one of the
Yeah.
two, or there are even some one. people also saying that that could be just if agent AIs may be sufficient to be moral patient. So I don't have a final answer to this.
Some people are
Um,
saying ecosystems could be considered like, moral patients in a sense, because they're just
yes.
complex patterns. I haven't really understood the depth of that argument, but yeah.
But what I believe is important, and often they what is considered, and again I'm glad that it's considered at all already at this stage, but often it is very much about to look at that those systems are not suffering. So if I mean, and this is linked to this sentience, if they are sentient, it has to be avoided that they suffer, and this is already a huge challenge to number one, to yeah, if to find out if they're, to establish that they're really sentient, and that they're suffering because this communication is complicated, and how to find evidence. This is early but ongoing research. But what I believe, and there's another paper I've drafted in this regard, there could be plenty of other issues beyond suffering, other needs of digital minds, because you can look at the whole Maslow pyramid. They may have plenty of needs beyond suffering. Suffering is critical, and of course, if they suffer, they try to stop suffering, and they don't want to suffer. But they may have plenty of other needs, and one need may be that they want to find meaning and purpose, and this would be then they may be in need of Ikigai, but they may be also I mean, they have also like survival needs that would be in their case that they need that they get electricity, um, that they get data, so that they have those kinds of needs. And if they are moral patients, this would be a massive moral challenge. If they are moral patients and humans are their only moral agents who can take care of their um, needs, then this would be massive moral duties for us. Um, so this is could be a huge field, and of course there are also, and again, this is perhaps still only quite a bubble within this is all discussed, but it may be widened with some advocacy, and then there's a risk of over attribution and under attribution, meaning that it could at some point we may find out, although it's unclear if there's ever a final evidence, but we may find out there's no such thing at all of digital minds. They're neither sentient nor conscious. They are just not moral patients. Then the whole effort was um, in vain. But then on the other hand, if we don't do this and look for this and assess this carefully, then it would be a massive a massive moral failure, as humans failed in the history quite often before, when they didn't widen the moral circle as they should have when it comes to animals, and even earlier to I mean there are plenty of moral failures in human history. So it's important to look at and assess all this to not to repeat previous mistakes.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. So, AI religion. Now, you have a chapter on this, I believe, in the book. Uh, I think it's a whole chapter dedicated to AI religion. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
My worry is that religion, at least historically, they've been known for anchoring values that we've subsequently deemed as short-sighted or wrong from the standpoint of where we are today in the modern world. Yeah. Do you think that AI might generate a religion? And why would it do so? Would it be for the purpose of meaning generation, or would it be because it thinks that there's something true out there that it can't explain through traditional means, through logic and epistemics and empirical evidence? What do you mean by an AI religion? Maybe let's start there.
Sure. I mean, yeah, this is yet another chapter, and I came up with this because I thought, I mean, that this is an additional um, potential AI risk. Um, it could have a positive outcome, but I rather have phrased it in a way that this is a negative, it would be a negative development. I mean, there are plenty of AI risks. That there's a whole range how AI could treat or a powerful AI could treat humans from like killing them all, killing us all, or I mean, on the other end of the range would be that there's a super friendly supportive AI. But if we look at those negative scenarios and the risk scenario, I thought that there could be also the option that AI creates something like a religion because it may, if it is powerful enough and knowledgeable enough, because it may figure out that religions in the past have been a quite a successful tool to control and manipulate humans in history. Humans tend to fall for religion, and even now in our scientific developed technological world, statistics say that over 80% of humans are religious. So this could be, and AI may consider this if they want to control humans. And since they are in many ways better than humans, they maybe also come up with them then better ways. I mean, with quite a powerful religion, which is which has which may outcompete other religions, because then if I go a little bit into detail, because a religion usually there's a cosmology which explains the world to the people, and then there are some rules and rituals, taboos, what humans are supposed to do, and then this is linked to new rewards and punishments. To summarize it very briefly, however, there are also and religions have been very successful over centuries, otherwise they wouldn't be still around. But still, there are weaknesses because this cosmology and how to explain the world often is based on some ancients believed and beliefs, and is not at all compatible with scientific insights. And it doesn't make sense mostly. So and the same and then the same applies to like rules and taboos which are linked to this. So because this is all super old and outdated often. And if an AI would come up with a religion, I thought it could be in a way that you have a public part where the AI also proposes a cosmology and comes up with rules and rituals, but then there would be also a secret part which is not revealed, which is basically that those rules and rituals for the humans are basically activities which support the goals of the AI. Because we are thinking of an AI which wants to control humans, so it would come up with something. Some rules for humans that they behave in a way that the AI is happy with it and supports the goals, like including like preservation of the AI, that they would not consider turning off this AI or deleting it if it is possible at all. And then what ways the or aspects the AI would be much better than current religions is, like as I said, this cosmology, because AI knows could provide some some ways to explain the world which would make more sense to humans, because humans may be dissatisfied with traditional religions because they realize that this is the ways they explain the world with these ancient methods, that this is not doesn't make sense, while AI could provide a cosmology which really makes sense. And then there are other strengths of the AI, because they could use technology to manipulate humans with disinformation. So basically could apply the tools of a religion, but in a much smarter way. And and then, as you say, there could be quite some negative outcomes, because the religion may be all about to support the goals of the AI, like providing resources for the AI, and which are not compatible with the real interests of humans, but the humans are manipulated and controlled. While in the end, I also propose a positive outcome, but is not sure if this is possible at all, because it could be also, if it is possible at all, to steer the AI in a religion. Sorry, to steer the AI in a direction that it comes up with a religion which is beneficial for humans, because often currently the current religions they have like rules which are not really useful in many ways. While if this is a AI which creates rules related to environmentalism, healthy lifestyle, nutrition, inclusion, and non-discrimination, gender equality, all those aspects, anti-speciesism. If an AI religion preaches those things and humans start to follow, this would be kind of an authoritative religion, but with values. At least I would appreciate. Um, Unlike tenets of other religions.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, religion, I guess, created by an AI could end up being like one of these sort of value lock-in basins for
Right.
humans,
Yeah, yeah,
where it can, I mean, it could easily just wipe us out if it's that much more powerful than this.
yeah,
But if
yeah, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
it's trying to do something minimally morally permissible, so that it's perhaps, let's just say that AI is trying to appease its cosmic neighbors and look like a friendly contributor to the cosmic neighborhood of super intelligent cosmic hosts out there. It might just create a little religion sandbox for us all to live in, where we don't get to really realize full potential. We're sort of stuck in a sandbox of misaligned, calcified into culture, misalignment calcified into culture. We're like little I don't know, zoo animals in some sort of simulated Eden, where Eden is just really a walled garden there, where we don't really get to learn, we don't get access to full knowledge, and knowledge is of the real world, or knowledge of true things is sort of warned against and prohibited against. Yeah, I can imagine that being a kind of like a form of damnation. Eden is kind of like a form of damnation when you think about it, right? So, you're not allowed to learn. If you start like taking of the fruit of knowledge, then you get kicked out.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how could AI use religion as a means of guiding us to generate meaning that's not fake or curtailing of full potential? If you got any insights on how to generate a really good religion, let us know.
I mean, yeah, this would be then kind of an ideal outcome. Not sure how realistic at all, but
Yeah.
a really friendly AI who knows exactly what we want, who knows how to satisfy, and then also given that everyone has different has an individual ikigai would have an individual ikigai, um, which is not, this is not a standardized. There's
Mm.
not no standardized kind of meaning, but so if such an AI exists and is friendly enough to figure out for everyone what what would be fulfillment and flourishing for him and her, then and it may have the power to to provide us with this meaning, this would be nice.
Mm.
Again, I mean, coming back to my very original question, still then it is about if there's such a friendly supportive AI, but how what to do all day long. Um, this is about the question which bothers me in a way. So then there's meaning, but then we have to stand up and we wake up in the morning and we need activities to do. And if this AI is also so supportive and powerful that it takes over so many of those activities, in order So, and this is again related to this, to the distinction between Ikigai Kan and Ikigai Taisho. It's not only about to wake up and feel fulfillment, but also then to do those activities. And what are these activities um, which provide us with this meaning?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I imagine there's some things that we're maybe our cognitive limitations. We're skull-bound minds. We've got a brain about this big, and we can sort of offload a lot of our cognitive activity onto the environment and other humans and even AI today. But there may be useful concepts about growth and development that would be really hard to compress into forms that don't lose useful signal such that we can understand. There might be some things that are just really difficult to compress into a form that humans might understand, and maybe they might be sort of embodied in a kind of quote unquote religious form so that we can just observe and understand. The problem I have with that is if we can't understand these principles of higher order meaning generation and progress, then we can't verify them, and therefore our basis for trust in these systems, these trust in meaning generation and growth generation, is difficult, right? We can't trust and we can't verify if we don't understand.
That's right. That's right. We can't.
All right. So anyway, is there anything that you'd like to add to this discussion that I haven't thought to prompt you with?
Mm, think we covered most of the issues. I'm glad that we talked about a few things which are not even yet in that book, because the animal topic is very close to my heart. Um, and also
Me too.
that this new paper I'm writing with Roman Jampolsky related to um, Ikigai, or the meaning as a digital public good. We believe this is an interesting approach to this. I mean, this is early stages, and we are not expecting any any government to jump on it right away. But I think it's important or interesting to start this discussion. So yeah, no, I think we covered a range of topics which I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I think our government in Victoria have created a sort of a digital twin of parts of the landscape. And it gives people access to like a digital version of like the Great Ocean Road here. I don't know if it's it's just for fun. It could be for useful for, I don't know, town planning and forestry and looking after fire risks and all that sort of thing. But yeah, that could be something that might be sort of related. But yeah, anyway, it's been like really cool talking to you about all these issues. It's certainly a wonderful time to be alive in some ways, to be able to look at these issues because the world's moving very fast, and
Indeed.
yeah, it's important that we don't lose sight of what really matters. And a lot of what really matters is, I think, in meaning generation. It's not just feeling good. It's not just like having a nice high hedonic experience of the world. It's
Yeah.
it's maintaining purpose and meaning. And it's great to see some brilliant minds like you and Jan Plofsky thinking about these sort of things and writing about them and contributing to the wide conversation about all this. So I really appreciate you spending the time with us here today on the channel, Science, Technology in the Future. And I hope to do so again at some stage, and maybe we'll even organise a panel with some people to talk about Ikigai.
Sounds very good. Yeah, I'd love to participate. No, that this was a pleasure. It was very interesting and talking to you, Adam. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.